Lesson 4. Okay, here you go. Resume share. Okay, we're back. All right. So those are the ideas that are surrounding this verbs. All right. Is to let us know what the actions on how they're being done, but they're associated with sound. That's what I really want you to get. I don't want you just to know what it looks like. I need you to understand how it sounds. Because when you hear it, I want you to recognize it. Okay. And that takes a little bit of a skill. Thank you, Dr. Ured. Somebody else said it, but you're the one who told me. You always got my back, man. I love you for that. All right. So what's going on here? My job is to help you and facilitate how to maneuver through these pages. Okay, because all of us can read, but we need to understand how these things work. So basically what they're just telling us is that they're going to introduce you now. If you don't know how active things work, then you won't know how the passive work. The active is literally like a partner. So you got two ways that things can be done in a simple way, right? So for example, you got the first way, you got the second way, you got the third way, okay? The first way is simple, right? What's the second way? Forceful or intense?
Oh.
What's the third way? Thank you. Okay. So what you guys need to do is take this S, this F, and this C and make a name out of it, you know, like San Francisco, California. That's what you need to do. You need to make an acronym. So you'll always remember it. That's how I did it. Because it's hard for you to understand this because you've never dealt with this before. Just tell me, have you ever been taught this? Never. So you got to come up with little acronyms. For me, it was San Francisco, California. So I'll know the S is the simple and the forceful and the California, but I always remember San Francisco, California. So the San Francisco, California has three different ways. I'll just put this like this, okay? And these actions, because these are verbs, these actions can be done in a way that's active, meaning you're the one who's going to do it. You're the one doing the action, okay? Like Reuven is the one doing the action. Reuven ate the bread. Reuven devoured the bread. Reuven fed the boy. He's doing the action, okay? But then there's another side to this simple, the forceful, and the causative, meaning now that it would be called passive. So let me explain that, okay? Because you might ask yourself, well, how is the passive? Why is it called passive? And how do we know what is passive and how do we use the passive verb, okay? And we're always talking about past tense right now, because this can happen in the future tense as well, okay? There's active and passive in the future tense. There's active and passive in the past tense, all right? So as they've given us this example, they said in all these sentences that are above right here, we're describing actions that Reuven did. He ate, he devoured, and he fed. Okay. However, corresponding to this, we could also say that the bread was eaten by Reuven. Okay. So he ate the bread, but the passive way is the bread was eaten by Reuven, right? The bread was devoured by Reuven. It's just the opposite. Same, information. Reuven's still part of it. Eating is still part of it. And then the object is still part of it, right? What was eaten. So it says in all these sentences, we're describing the exact same action, exactly the same that we mentioned above, that Reuven ate the bread. However, here we are not looking at the action from the viewpoint of the person doing the action. So we're not going to focus on Reuven doing the action because he's the one who actively done it. But now we're talking about passive. A passive way of doing something is saying rather we're looking at the action from the viewpoint of the thing that the action was done on. That's what we're looking at. So Reuven, he can actively do something. Okay. He's the subject. So we're looking at it from the subject's point of view. But now when you're looking at something passive, you're looking at the things that the action was done on. So the action was done on the bread. The bread was eaten by Reuven. The bread was devoured by Reuven. The boy was fed by bread by Reuven. So everything goes back to the object versus the subject. So again, passively, we're looking at the action from the viewpoint of the thing that the action was done upon. All right. So it says, and I know that's a little confusing because we've never had to think like this in this sense, okay, from a Hebraic standpoint. So now it says, so it comes out that there are two different ways to describe the actions above. And there's your chart right there. The one that you have the viewpoint of the person who's doing the action, who did the action, the person, okay? So the active is always remember this, the active is about a person. It's the subject. Here, the viewpoint is from the person or the thing that the action was done on. So it's not the one doing the action. So this is one who's doing, and this one right here is done on, okay? That's a good way for you to remember. So there's two different ways to look at it, okay? Reuven ate the bread, Reuven did the action. The bread was eaten by Reuven, okay? One of the things that you're going to see to let you know that something is passive are these words right here that tell you was. Okay, that's passive. Okay, here the action is just being done. Here, this is passive because the action was being done on the bread. Okay, so you're just reversing the sentence. If you look at it, bread is here at the end, number one, bread's right here in the beginning. Was is the passiveness of this because the bread is not doing the action. The bread is receiving the action from Reuven. Any questions? Ask your questions and I can help you understand. Passive verbs are used when you want to describe an action being done from the viewpoint of the thing that the action was done on, okay? The bread was eaten, okay? So what we know here is group number one, group number two, and group number three is what we have to remember. Group number one is what? San Francisco, California. With
Simple.
Yeah, simple.
What is group number two?
Forceful.
Is forceful. Thank you. And group number three?
Positive.
Causative. That's your San Francisco, California, okay? So causative. So you got group one, group two, and group three. Now they're telling you that group number one can be done two different ways. One is active, which you're doing the action on something, okay? Or passive. That's what your study is today. Meaning that the action is being done from the viewpoint of the thing that the action is being done on. So one is doing it, and so one is doing, okay? And the other one is the one who has received the action, okay? That's what you need to remember, active and passive. This is important because when you read the text in the Hebrew scriptures, a lot of times people don't understand who's doing what. They might misplace the action and give it to someone who really didn't do it. And that can confuse a person and confuse your thoughts. And you don't know. You know, like I told you, the Hiphael has been the killer because a lot of people think that Abraham had faith, and it's not true. He was caused to believe. So in summary, active verbs describe where someone is actively going out and doing an action on something, okay? Or on someone. These types of verbs are called active because the person who's doing it is the action is active. They're actively doing it. Passive verbs right? They describe someone who's sitting back passively, someone or something not doing anything. The bread's not doing anything, okay? Rather, it's receiving the action from someone or something else. They are called passive verbs because the person receiving the action is passive. They're just kicking back and just letting it happen to them. You know, you talk about a person, oh, they're passive. Why are you being passive? My kids are playing sports. Why are you being passive? Why aren't you aggressive and actively going after it? So there's those two ideas. One is active and one is passive. So here's some more examples about active and passive verbs. If you look at it, it says, Dawid, he learned the Torah. Dawid is the action is learned. Okay. The subject is Dawid and the object is the Torah. That's what he learned. Now, if I passively said it, all I'm doing is reversing the sentence. I'm going, the Torah was learned. I'll show it to you. Dawid learned the Torah. The Torah was learned by Dawid. See that? I don't even have to go over here. I don't even have to look at this. Okay. So I'm going to test you guys because I do tests. So let's figure it out and see if we're winning. Let's see how smart we are. If we can get this. Because we're smart people. That's why you're in the class. You love to learn. Say it. I love to learn. All right. So here it is. We're smart. All right. This is active. Dawid learned the Torah. Okay. Just reverse it and go this way. Somebody say it.
The Torah was learned by Dawid.
Thank you. Next, the father sent the boy.
The boy was sent by the father.
Thank you. Pharaoh sent away the Jews.
The Jews were sent away by Paro.
Yes, they were. You hear this was or were, right? Dawid dressed Shlomo.
Shlomo
was dressed by Dawid.
Was, see, passively. The uncle brought presents.
Presents were brought by the uncle.
Thank you. Reuven sang the song.
The song was
The
sang
song
by
was
Ray.
sang by Reuben.
Okay, we're getting it right. So you guys are already on it. That's all it is. And so you just gotta cover things up and then block things out, put a piece of paper over one side, and then after you finish one side, you got it right. If you didn't, you kind of understand it. And then after you finish with one side, then put the piece of paper over on this side and block this out, and then say this, and that's how you practice. You see, that's what I'm trying to teach you. I want to teach you stuff that they don't teach you here. They give you the information, but they're not really teaching you. Okay. So that's how you do it. It says we can see that from this table that this is a very easy way to recognize, this in English, because it's always going to use was. This is always going to be was or were. They were sent, was guarded, were brought. It's always going to be true. You're always going to find that. So that is very powerful for us to understand. All this is was, were, was, and were means passive. That's all you got to remember. That's all you got to remember is that will let you know that's passive. Okay. Let me get rid of this stuff. Good job, everyone. Okay. I love the participation because it makes things easier. Now we can get into it. Okay. So that's kind of like the intro to what active and passive is. Now that wasn't hard at all. It just takes a little practice. Okay. Because of the way sentences are structured and how they're put together. So it says here that now we're dealing with group number 1. And they tell you right there that it's a simple action. Okay. And they're letting us know now that we're not going to be dealing with active forms. Now we're going to deal with passive forms. The reason why they're using this word form here, okay, is simply because they're trying to tell you that things look a certain way. There's certain little forms that they use. That's called a form. This is a form. The hay is a form. Those are little pieces to your puzzle, forms that tell you certain things. So when you see these things now, like, oh, I know what that is. San Francisco, California. Look, that's San Francisco. And here, look, here's Frisco, and here's California. Simple, forceful, and what? Causative. Okay. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And those are all, okay, the little forms that you learn. Somebody's writing on my thing, you'll get in trouble as a student. As soon as I find out who you are, it's over. All right, so let's get to this. The first example we saw in the beginning of the lesson was Reuven akal et halakim. Reuven ate the bread. Is that simple? What is this? What part of San Francisco, California is this?
Simple.
Simple.
How do you say it? How you say the simple part of it?
I call.
Yeah, a call, but I called. Yes, perfect. So we know that Reuven is the one doing the action because he's mentioned first. And then this right here, if it's a 3-letter, it means he. Okay. If I had akala, it means that she. Okay. And then eth is pointing directly to what the verb was, directed towards, which is the bread, the halachem. Okay. So it says, however, if we look, however, at the same action from the viewpoint of the bread, now we're not talking about Reuven. Now we're looking at the bread. We're looking at the thing in which the action was done on. It says the bread was eaten by Reuven, was eaten. We said is in the passive form of the verb, okay? Because it is describing the action that was being done from the viewpoint of the thing that the action was done on, right? So now they're going to tell us what the question would be, well, how do you put a verb into the passive form? We know how to put it into this simple form. We know how to put it into the forceful form. We know, and these are active forms. These are active, by the way, just to let you know, these are active forms. They're active. Okay, so it could be this, it could be simple, it's active. It could be, forceful, it's active. You're actively doing it. And it can also be causative, active. Okay, so he could do all these things actively, or she can do all these things actively, right? And so in order for you to know the form, what they're going to tell you is very simple. All they do to make something from a active to a passive is they just add this letter. You get another piece to your puzzle today. And what letter is that?
None.
That's the none. Okay. That's the none right there. Okay. And all they're going to do is add that letter onto the front of the root. And they're going to give us some examples. Okay. So to say the bread was eaten in Hebrew, we would say it was. Hear that word? Was. How will we say it? Somebody read that.
Halakan ne akal.
Thank you.
Ekal.
Yes. Ne'echol. Don't focus on those 3 dots like this. That's a whole nother study in terms of grammatical structure and why these things are next to each other. And that information, I don't even tell you in this book why these things are here. Why do you have a reduced, all these little marks? Because your first thing, your eye is going like, okay, well, I know I said it right, but what does it mean? Now that they got you on what that means, they got you on what that means, and now they got you on that means, now you're getting a new letter, another piece to your puzzle. You're getting a none. That's what you're getting. A noon or none, whatever, which way you want to say it. Okay. I don't fault you if you say noon.
Okay.
So noon or none, doesn't matter. Still a letter. So that's how you introduce a group 1 passive form. This is the form. This letter is the form. Okay. This right here is a form. That is an active form of a forceful verb. This is a form of a simple form of an active verb. Okay. These are all active, and this one right here is passive. You see, that's all it is. All right. So we know group 1 is what? Is what part of San Francisco, California is group 1?
Simple.
Simple.
This is simple. Okay. So now they're going to tell us, well, how do you handle this now? Right now that you're in group 1 passive form, look at our examples. Very, very simple. So Reuven He read. It doesn't say he right here, but in your lesson, it will tell you he read because it's a 3-letter, and 3-letter means perfect. And if it's perfect, then it's a third person masculine singular. It means he. Okay. And it lets you know if it's 3 letters, it lets you know that I'm talking about Reuven. So actually the verb, listen to me carefully, the verb, the action and the way it's written has to match the identity and the gender of the subject. So if I change that to a woman, say I said it was Sarah. Say we got this way and it was Sarah. Would it be Kara?
Kara.
Uh-huh. They'd probably throw another a hey on there. Okay. It'd be a Kara, right? You probably see a hey added on to the end to let you know that, hey, the verb is matching her, because a feminine can only do a feminine verb. She can, of whoever's doing the action, it has to match. That's my point. Okay. It has to match. So this is masculine and this is masculine. Okay. So he read, or Kadra read what? The Hasefer. He read the book. Now that we are understanding the passive, we want to change it now where the action is coming from the perspective of the item that the action was done on, right? So somebody read that.
Hasefir
Uh-huh.
Nikwara.
Uh-huh. So I heard nikwa. So here it is. That dot that's under that noon, and this, and that looks like a bet.
Mhm.
Okay, so that dot that's under there, and then you got the schwa right here, and then you got this one here. Okay. This right here is a short vowel. They don't tell you this. This is something that I know. So when you say these together, you have to say these two together. Okay. So it would be an N as
Oh,
in English, and then it'd be an I, and then a Q.
Nikra.
Nikra. Exactly. Perfect. Perfect. I hope everybody understood that, because that's short. That's a short vowel, and then that splits and that goes together. So that's Nikra. Remember, I told you guys last week that you should take these letters and write them out. That's an N. The dot underneath, that's an I. This right here is a Q. That's the first one. Then I'm going to say the next one. What letter is this in English?
Rish.
Yeah, in English.
Oh, R.
R. And then an R, and there's this
Come on.
under it, okay? Nikra, okay? But if you know your vocabulary, you would know, wait a minute, here's the kara, that means to call out or to read, and then we got the noon on the front, or the nun, that is a passive. So now I'm understanding why the actual, the book was what? Was read.
Ah.
You see? So Reuven, he read the book. Reverse it. The book was. So when you look at this noon, right here, it is none. It means was or were, depending on what the noun is behind it, okay? Or in front of it, excuse me. So when you're looking at this, you would go, oh, that's the hey, or the, and Sefer, which is the book, and then was, and then here kava, read. I put another E behind that. Read. That's how you do it. Now I want to see if you guys, I'm going to help you. I'm going to walk you through this one. All right. So somebody read this right here.
Darad.
David.
Uh-huh.
Shalach.
Uh-huh.
Es ha seled.
Yeled.
Oh, Yeled.
Uh-huh.
Hayeled.
Hayeled. Thank you. So David, Shalach et Hayeled. Okay. So over here, that's David, right? They got David, but don't worry about that. We know what it is. Shalach, he sent, and then Eth is pointing directly to, and then the right here, and then Yaled, the boy. Okay. Now we're going to reverse engineer it. That is Hayaled, the boy. Okay. Was. What letter represents was?
None.
Noon.
Right here. Perfect. And you already know what your root is, which is shalak. So you know that means sent. See how easy those puzzles are? So now, but I want you to also get this. We know what it looks like, but I want you to practice at home and use that letter none when you're saying it. So it could be a ne, it could be a ni, it could be a ni, it could be ni. But if you get the sound, I want you to practice the n sound. So look at this word when you're saying it. When I send this over to you, I want you to just look at this word and go n. I want you to say the sound while you're focusing your eyes on this. Just like when I put a hey up, he, I'm thinking about causative. Okay. When I say I'm thinking simple. And I look at the word simple, why I say it. When this dot here is, and I go, I'm thinking forceful. Put your eyes on something that says forceful and say the sound, because you're going to need this later. So when I say nishbor or nishlach, as soon as you hear it, you'll be like, oh, that's passive. If I say shalach, you'll be like, oh, that's simple.
Mm.
If I say ni, you say, oh, that's passive. I say I just said okay, here's your test. And you do this to yourself as well. And these are the things that they don't teach you. They're just giving you stuff written, right? So here, if I say what group am I in? 1, 2, or 3?
2.
2.
1.
He.
Three.
There you go. Ni. Is it passive or active? Ni.
Passive.
It's passive because it's right here. It's the sound.
Oh,
So remember, just remember the sound, because once you know what the letter looks like, and you know that, but you got to remember the sound, because when you're reading this, you're not going, oh, that's a noon. Oh, that's you're making sounds. If I ask you to read something, you're not going to go, oh, that's a hey, you're not doing that. You're going off of sounds because you remembered or you memorized what the letters look like, so you can memorize the what? The sound. That's what they're not teaching us. They're not teaching us sounds to program your mind. Okay. So that's what this does. This programs your mind. So when you say n, then I want you to remember that, oh, that's passive. Okay. So remember that. So here it is, group number 1, active form that you went over is So when you say this again, and then even while you get it, make sure you just write a little note, simple. That's passive. And this is active too, by the way. And it could be, the simple could be done actively in an active way, and it also can be done passively. This can be done 2 ways. What are the 2 ways you can do it?
simple and passive.
Simple and passive.
Okay, good. So you got simple, but let's keep it with the group, what it says, actively,
Passive.
passively.
Oh.
Both of these are group number 1, so they're simple. This group number 1 is simple. The simple way of doing something could be done actively by someone, or it could be done, or the thing that's being done could be done passively. Okay, so I got 1, 2, 3. I got San Francisco, California. And I know that that's simple. This is forceful. And I know that this is causative. Okay. But I also know this simple way can be done in an active way, and it can also be done in a passive way. And so if that can happen, I know here in a forceful way, that can be done actively. I'm going to teach you that. And then you're going to find out that it can be done passively. Causative can be done actively or passively. You see? So if you got three different ways that something can be done, or what they would call tenses. Okay. You got three different tenses, like a simple tense, a forceful, a causative. You see that if I multiply that times the active and passive, which is 2, so far you're going to learn 6 different ways that something can be done. From this perspective, it's even more than that. That 6 is going to be multiplied by another 8 different conjugations, which then you can take one word and have 56 different ways. And if I throw that Hitpael on there, there's another 8 different ways, which would bring you to what? 64 different ways that you could take one word and it could be expressed in 64 different ways. We learned that you can actually take one Hebrew word that consists of 3 words in one. So for every one of these letters or vocabulary words that you learn, you multiply that times 3, it will give you 3 English words. You see, so this is a more efficient language. Okay. So the 3 that you have that you're really doing here, right? From one of the Hebrews, and then you could turn around and multiply that times the 64, right? You got about 12. What did I put a 64? 3. 12. What is that? 18, 19. 192. It just keeps going. You understand? So if you learn, say 400 Hebrew words, and you multiply, and they have times 3 English, because it carries like 3 English words in one, you really learn 1,200 words. That 1,200 could be multiplied times that 64 different ways. Do you see how it just grows? So your vocabulary is definitely going to increase, and your understanding is definitely going to increase. I want you to understand that. So today you might just be learning the different groups, which is cool. And we're learning how these things work. They're just kind of building you up. So you'll know, like, okay, in this one simple group right here, I have 2 different ways that it can be done. It could be done actively, the person doing it, or the thing that is being done on. So that right there is 2 ways that can happen in group number 1. Okay. And it's not hard. All you got to do is remember that this right here, this sound, is what I'm looking at. Not only the letter tells me something, but the sound tells it to me too. And that's what you and I are trying to learn. Because that's what I'm getting from it. I've been doing this for like 5-6 years now. And I'm starting to see, like, wait a minute, what's the secret? You know, there got to be a secret to this. So I don't have to work so hard, you know? And it's basically sounds. It's not just letters. I can read this stuff up and down. That's not a problem. Then once I started to read, I was excited. Yeah, I can read. And that's okay. Well, what does it mean? Oh, well, then I got to find the root. Okay, now I found the root. Well, what's this letter on the front? What's this letter on the back? Okay, is that past, present, and future? Then I was able to translate it. Then I was like, okay, well, now that I know it's past, present, and future because of the location of the letters, what about these markings underneath? What did that mean? Oh, that means that it was done this way. And I was like, okay, then I opened that can of worms. I was like, wait a minute, this is a lot deeper. And it's not to get you discouraged. Don't get discouraged by all the stuff you see. Okay. So here's some more examples that you guys are going to see how it works. Okay. It's just reversing things. Shimon Welewi, Nishliku, stuff like that. You guys get it. But I don't want to go over this because you guys already know that. We've already went over that. Let's have you guys do some stuff right quick. All right. So I'm going to ask you a question. You just answer it. This hay right here. What is it? What's the word for it?
Yeah.
Okay. What's this?
What's it?
Fathers. The oath on the end of it has a feminine ending, and that's what they would call an exception. So sometimes you might see masculine noun with a feminine ending for plurality, and that's kind of like an exception. They got some exceptions, okay? So you'll see that because that kind of had me puzzled. Like I thought only oath was with female stuff. No, sometimes you might see it on the masculine, okay? Question for you, is this simple? What is it? What group is in?
Simple.
Simple.
Tell me what group.
One.
One.
Okay, tell me if it's active or passive.
Active.
It's active. Okay. What does this mean right here?
It's
Direct
a
object.
vowel pointing,
that's-
pointer.
It's a pointer for who. This is pointing to the action of the verb. Okay. So it's letting you know okay, let me explain this. This right here is going to take this action and put it onto that. That's what this is for. It's an object marker. I'm pointing you to let you know where that action is going. It's going right here. That's why it's an arrow. It's a direct object marker.
Mhm.
Direct object. Oh, I spelled that wrong. OJ. Object. Direct object. This is the direct object marker. So this is the object of the verb. Okay.
Mhm.
This is not hard. You guys see that? So what you're going to see in this in your handout is basically they're going to chop these words up for you through this, like here. They're going to break it down for you and tell you how the pieces are. So it's going to let you know what group it's in because of this. It's going to let you know whether it's active, and you know it's active because it's in group 1, and this is the form that lets you know that it's active. Okay? That's what's active, is this actual mark right here. This. That's why they have it right here. And so underneath that, they're going to break out the word. And that's what they're trying to teach us. It's like you could take a word like this, and you got to be able to chop it down. But this chopping down will be good for you because then you'll be able to see the vocabulary word. Okay? You'll be able to see the vocabulary word, ahav. And then you see the u on the end, and you'll know exactly what it means.
Mhm.
The u is they, right? The were was this noon right here. And then the ahav is love. Why is it loved? Why is it loved?
Past tense.
It's in the past tense. But what do we see, Akika? We see that there's a letter on front of it. I thought you told us that if you add a letter to the front of a verb, then like a aleph or a yod or any other thing that would make it into the future tense. Well, if you have something added onto the end and you know that this is a passive form, then you would automatically know that means, especially in this context here, it would tell you that this is a passive form. Okay, so that's what it is. Like, for example, but also too, this can be a little confusing because the letter noon on the front of a word also means what? We. And you'll see this in the book of Genesis where he says, let us, and he uses the noon on front of the word aside. Okay. Meaning let us, we're going to make a man in our image. People thought that was talking to the angels or talking to Christ, and it wasn't. He was talking to the earth. That was the conversation. He's talking to the very thing that he took the materials from and said, hey, so why is he talking to the earth? Because the earth is what? She's what? She's living and she's alive. What's my proof that the earth is living and alive?
Because there's no neuters in Hebrew.
Well, yeah, but it's a living language, but also too, from an agricultural standpoint, how do you know something's living? Something what?
Grows.
It grows.
It
Something
grows.
grows from it. That's why he spoke to her, because she's alive. Well, he's not talking to the earth. Yes, he is. It's alive. Okay. So it's living. Even the heavens are living. Everything is living. Oh, praise be to the living Elohim. You saw he got it all locked up. You got it locked up. All right. So that's the example there. Easy, just pieces to your puzzle. So that's what you're going to kind of go over. Okay. And again, they're telling you your identifying sign over here is you just got to keep saying it. So again, I want you to make the sound and look at this while you're making it. Look. I'm looking at this as I say that. That's how I want you to do this. I don't want you to just say, oh, that's the sign. Oh, this is active and this is passive. Okay, I got it. No, I want you to put that work in. I want you to say the sounds. And if you got somebody you can practice with, that'd be cool. Here, they're breaking everything down for you. Okay. So it'll tell you what the pithak is to open, were, well, right here. They, the oo on the end. Simple. That's not hard. What part of this word is we?
The wa.
The new, right here.
Oh, the new.
Yeah, it's in the past tense. It's at the end of this. So it lets you know it's done. And here it is. Here's the actual verb. And is that active or is passive?
Active.
It's active. Okay. So you can see, I don't want you to focus on the changing of the verb, these little dots and stuff. Don't worry about that kind of stuff. Just focus on the sound. Okay. So nish maru. Okay. So nish maru. Nish marnu. Nish marnu. Nish marnu. We were guarded. Past tense. Everything is that way. Okay. How do you say this?
Shazati. Mazati.
Masati. Don't have it. If it had a dot in it, it would be a hard T sound. But it doesn't. It doesn't have that. It doesn't have that dot. Okay. If it had a dot in it, it's going to be a T sound. If it doesn't, it's a TH sound like th, th, th. Okay. And because in biblical Hebrew, they acknowledge the tav without the dot, and they acknowledge the tav with the dot. Biblical Hebrew does that. That's why sometimes you'll see it with it, like here, ta, and then somewhere else, you'll see it without it. Okay, there's a reason for that, which is a grammatical structural thing. All right. Any questions? It seems it's like a big old puzzle, isn't it? That's all it is. Active and passive. All right. So in this, well, let me go over this little part right quick. I got 5 minutes for you guys. I'm going to show you because you're going to see, you're going to get this. They're going to give you a summary at the end because this is the summary of everything that you learned. Okay? Lessons 1 through 4. What I like about this book is that they go over everything that they've learned so far, right? So they don't just go over lesson 4, they go over lesson 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you're always staying up on it. You're always reminding yourself. So past, present, future, simple, forceful, causative, groups that can be done. And then there it is. They tell you what it looks like. Then they tell you what, what these actions are called, what group they're in. And they're just keeping you up on it, right? And telling you how things are done. So it's always good if you just want to, you got a little time during the day, just kind of grab this summary and go over the summary. You don't have to do the whole lesson over again. Just do the summary and it'll be all there for you. So far, what you're going to learn here is they give you something here in the back that tells you like, hey, look, group number 1, it could be active, passive. Group number 2, it could be active, passive. Group number 3, it could be active, passive in the past tense. And also 2, it can be that in the future tense, which is a little bit different than what we're learning right now. Okay. And so they tell you all these different things. So you can see the groups and you can see, look, and here, don't get confused. When they talk about forms, all they're telling you what a form is: first form, second form, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. The forms are these identifying signs to tell you what form it is. Okay, so here they tell you, we ain't got to this yet. You don't know what this is. You know what this is, but you don't know what this is. You see? So today you learn this one. Lessons 1, 2, and 3, you learn this, and you learn that. Now today you learn that. You only got 2 more left and you're done. Easy. Okay, so practice those sounds and understand what it means, and that's it. You guys are going to trip out because you're going to start learning this really fast. It's not a big deal. You'll be like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm actually reading this, and you're actually going to start laughing because when you read something, you're going to be like, oh my goodness, I know what this means. I just read this. You're going to be telling each other, I just read this. For example, let's just give it a shot. Your homework is going to be this stuff, okay? So the first thing I want you to tell me, is this active or passive?
Passive.
It's passive. Thank you. So from here on out, when you see this, you know it's passive because that's what they're trying to get you to focus on. You already know what this is. You already learned what that is. That's active. So when you see that noon on the front and you see this, that's the root right here. Forget about all this. That's just there to, for you to just sound out stuff. What else do you see in here? So we got this. We know that that's passive. We know that it's is it a simple? Is it group one?
No.
Huh?
Yes.
Yeah, it is group one. You would automatically think, oh, wait a minute, it's got the little dot. So that's group number two. Well, here's what it is. Remember the rule. The rule is that we know that this right here is not part of the root. It's not part of the root. It's not part of the root. The root consists of 3 letters. Okay. So if it was, so you automatically think, oh, if it's simple, it would be that. And that's all you know right now. So they introduced you to this letter, right? That's telling you like it is a passive form of a simple. We're only dealing with group number 1 because that's all you learned today. All you learned was about the first part of San Francisco, California. This is the only one you learned today. That's the only one that they taught you today. And I'll show it to you again so you'll know that I'm telling you the truth. Here it is. This is the only one that you learned today. Right here. You already knew this. Here, you know that. You're in group number 1. Simple. You already been taught that. You already know that. You found out about the forceful, which is group number 2. You found out what that is. Okay. Then you found out what number 3 is right here, group number 3. You know that's causative. Okay. So those things are checked off. So I got that done. I got that done. And I got that done. Lesson number 4 is dealing with this letter. Okay. So that right there is going to be found in group number 1. Okay. You haven't learned this in group number 2, and you have not learned this in group number 3. You only learned today about group number 1. But you would automatically think, well, it's not group number 1 because it has that little dot under it, which reminds me of this. But that by itself means that it's forceful. Okay. Under the first letter of the root. This is the root, shavar. It'll be right here. Because I add this noon to it, that's different. This won't be this anymore. It'll probably turn to this. Okay. This right here is added to tell you that it's passive. Okay. But not, of course, in this, not in this group. It won't be that because we don't know what that is. We don't know what this is, and we don't know what this is. Okay. We don't understand this yet. It hasn't taught us that. But what we do know is that a noon is added on to any 3-letter root with this, what they call the suffix of who's doing the action, which is I, you, he, she, or they. That noon is added onto the front of it to tell you that this is the passive of group number 1. It's still a simple action because it's part of group number 1. Okay. It's a little confusing because you're thinking, well, it had the dot underneath that. Okay. But we're just looking at the letter. So what I would say is don't trip off the little dot that's under the noon. Look at the letter itself. Okay. So here, the first one that I told you about, just trying to get your mind refreshed, that's passive. We know that it's group number 1 because that's what we went over today. We know group number 1 is simple. It's part of the San Francisco, California group, okay? Also, too, we find in here this root word, which is 3 letters. But then we see on the root that they have an ah. So what does that ah tell you? Is it masculine or feminine?
Masculine. No. Feminine.
It's feminine.
Feminine, yeah.
Yeah, it's feminine. So who wants to take a guess and tell me what shabar means? What does shabar mean? If it was just like this, a regular simple way, what does shabar mean? If you don't know, that's okay. Shabar means to break. Sha. Very simple. I'm going to break something. Okay. If I said shib bar, that means I smashed it. If I have hish bear, then that means right here, hish beer. What does that mean? It means I caused it to be smashed. Okay. So I'm just trying to bring out that when you look at a word, you want to be able to chop it up, chop up the pieces. Look for the little markers that you have. That's what you got to get your eyes used to. Shalak means to sin passively. So, and it has an ah on it. So it lets me know that she was sent. She was sent. What did this one, what did she right here do? She what? It's a simple way. Yes.
She broke.
She broke. She was
Broken. She was broken.
She was broke, or probably more. She was broken. Yes, she was broken. Okay. What does a call mean?
To eat.
Okay. I got the ah on it. So what does it tell you? Is it masculine or feminine?
Masculine.
Feminine.
It's
Feminine.
feminine.
It's feminine.
Yeah, because
Yeah, because of
femininity
the
is
hay.
this. This is the
Because of the
femininity
hay.
piece. That's the piece. See that piece right here?
God.
That's the same thing. It lets you know that's feminine.
Oh,
Okay.
if the hay was a that would have been shalaka.
Yeah.
Akala.
So it is nishlak, right? But yeah, but if this wasn't here, it would be shalaka. It would be shalaka. That means that, and that's in the past tense, she sent. Okay. But
Okay.
here it's saying she was sent. Shalak. She was sent. Okay. She was eaten. I know that don't make any sense. 'Cause she was eaten. Okay.
Mhm.
What's this one here?
We
Yeah.
were
Yes. What's a have?
loved.
Thank you. See? And it's in the past tense. We were loved. And this is the past tense. She was broken. She was sent. Okay. She was eaten. Okay. What's this?
We
We. See the piece? We.
were
Were. And then Bakar. What is-
Bakar.
Chosen.
Mm.
We were chosen. Okay. Nishmarnu. What's nishmarnu? Ni. Passive. Were. Okay. So we were.
Heard. No.
Shamar means to guard. We were
Guard.
guarded. Okay. Spelled that wrong. Okay. So that's how you do that. And of course, I'm giving you the answer sheet, and you just keep testing yourself. Let's look for the clues. What does this right here mean?
They.
Thank you. See, so you know your ends. What does this right here mean?
She.
You got a tav with the dot with this underneath it. That means you, but it means, is it masculine or feminine?
Feminine. Yeah.
No, that's masculine.
Oh, I keep getting that confused now.
Well, I have a way for you to remember it, but I don't want to be too provocative. Okay. So, yeah. So the female has two things.
Okay.
Okay. She has these two little dots right here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's how you will know that it's feminine. If it's a masculine, okay, he has this and then he has that.
Got it.
Got it. That's how you remember it. I'm pretty sure that's the reason why they did it that way too. So that's how you say it. Okay. And so then you just find those pieces. So if you know your roots and your vocabulary, which, go back and look at these things and it'll tell you. So your vocabulary is going to increase and then you're going to start looking at something. Now, there is no noon on the front of this. Let me ask you a question based on what you see under the first letter of the root. It has that little dot there. Is that group 1, group 2, or group 3?
Still
Two.
one.
Who said it?
Forceful.
Thank you, because you hear you come from your stomach. Okay, so it's forceful. Absolutely. So we understand it here, right? New means what? We. And then this is a forceful eating. We devoured. We devoured. Okay, don't tell you exactly what they devoured, but we devoured. Okay.
May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Is there another verb example you can give me besides devoured? I just can't think of any.
Oh, for eat-
forceful.
Oh, okay. What we had up here was shabar, right?
Mhm.
Shabar means to break. Okay, just very simple. Shabar. Okay, shabar. That means to break. The moment that I changed it from that first form to this form here with this dot,
Mhm.
then it went from breaking. If I had to put a force on it, instead of me breaking it, I would then what? Smash.
Oh, okay.
Okay. One of the things that got confused me, I sent, right? Very simple. I sent. Another one for forceful is I sent away. So there's different ways that things are done and we're not really used to them. So that's what gets confusing for us because we don't really understand how these actions are being done. If we learn how these actions are being done, I'm telling you to change your life. It will definitely change the way you think. And that's what it is. So here, a little secret for you is read it this way and then go and break it down this way. Okay. So you look for the pieces to identify the gender. You need to know the gender. You need to know the number. And you need to know the person, PGN, the person, the gender, and the number. Okay. So the gender is either male or what? Female. The number, is it singular or is it plural? The person, is it first person, second person, or third person? That's what you got to know. And if you're talking about she, then you would know that she is a third person. If you talk about we, then you know that's a first person common with a whole group of people of a plurality. You see, so what Hebrew really is nothing but a puzzle of pieces for you to put everything together and break it down. So they've made it like appear to be very difficult and hard and all these different, we get intimidated by all these words and so forth. We look at something like the Esa de Ikel Habasar de Gamna Ikel Beno de Habasar. And you say Ese, right? Esa Ikal. How did he eat this? He's eating. How did he eat? Tell me, somebody. He Ikal.
Forceful
He ate.
devoured.
He ate.
Yeah, he devoured it.
Forcefully ate it. He
Gobbled it
devoured.
up.
He devoured, and you got it tells you what he devoured because this is telling he's pointing directly to what? The basar, which is the flesh.
The meat.
The meat, the basar. And also, because that's what that means.
And
And you see this
the
and
bread
this together. So he caused what? He caused his son to eat the flesh as well. So how did he cause him? He fed him. He fed him the flesh, the meat. Okay. When, because Kadasher, she saw, who saw? Rivka, I believe. When she saw this, right, she asked him a question. And the question she asked Esau was this. She said, Ne echol, ne echol. You see that, Dr. Yared, where it got the 3 dots instead of just the 1 dot? It could be changing depending on what letter it is. That's a whole nother subject. But ne echol, She asked a question. Ne'echol. What did she just ask him?
For fed?
Remember, this is the question is this is passive, right? This is eating.
Are you eating?
Word?
Was he eating?
Was he?
Yes.
Oh,
He's not actively was eating, and she asked the she called, okay, Esau, the Ne'echol, and Wahabasar, and that ate the son, the Ne'echol. Why was he eating? Okay. So when you guys do your study and you do your homework, you'll see it. But that's how it is. But once you learn it, you're going to love it. You're going to, because it's a puzzle. You love puzzles. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be a puzzle. Okay. Here's the answers to everything that you went over on line number one. Line number one that you first went over that I showed you, they break it down for you to let you know that it was she was broken. We were correct. She was sent. We were correct. She was eaten. We were correct. We were loved. We were loved. We were chosen. We were guarded. So all this is going to get your eyes used to things. Don't get intimidated. Actually laugh about it. Okay? Not a big deal. Sorry for keeping you guys so long. I'm going to send this over to you.